Welcome to Behind the Blue Curtain. This is your all-access pass to Sarasota Opera. We'll uncover stories, behind-the-scenes perspectives, and explore the magic that happens both in front of and behind the blue curtain. Welcome to episode 4 of our podcast series. This is everything La Bohème, poetry, poverty, and passion. So, La Bohème, it's a wonderful love story. It focuses essentially on these two couples and the trajectory of their relationship. It's funny, it's touching, and it's ultimately quite heartbreaking. This opera is one of the most famous, one of the most performed everywhere in the world. Today with me, I'm going to have Stephanie Sundine, who is the stage director for this opera, and Ashley Milanese, who is our diva, our Mimi for this production. So Miss Stephanie joining me here. What to you is the reason that La Bohème is so special and beloved?
Puccini has a way of conveying the emotion of all of the characters, no matter what's going on. And I find that to be very moving. I'm drawn to what he has to say, whether it's a comedic situation or the men are just being a little playful or it's romantic or it's tragic, whatever it is. I think he really gets at our emotions thoroughly and all the time. And I love that about Bohème and other Puccini operas.
And you've had plenty of chance to learn about Puccini operas. You've done more than most people I know.
Yes.
And where does Bohème sit in your love for these operas?
My goodness, that's a tough one. Certainly one of my very favorites, no question about it. And I go back to it each time, which I'm doing now, preparing for this production. And I sang Musetta with New York City Opera and enjoyed that tremendously in working with my colleagues. And then now I have the opportunity and at various times to do the production over and over again. And I'm grateful for that.
Stephanie, you sang Musetta. So how do you compare your experience on working on an opera as a singer versus as the stage director?
I don't ask other Musettas to do what I did. I think that's really unfair. I bring a lot of love to the role and to the whole opera, but I don't think it's up to me to impose what I did. It's nice that I did the role and sang several performances, but it doesn't impact what our Musetta will be doing.
And you've got a fantastic cast. I mean, I think having singers who both physically embody their roles, but I think also you've got singers who really love to get into the emotion of characters. And talk about that. Talk about helping singers to really emotionally embody those.
Yes, if anyone is shy about that or if they're reticent, I can certainly pull the emotions out of them. And just reminding them what the text says, all of them will be prepared. I'm sure they will have translated the text, but sometimes they don't go deep enough. They don't go far enough. And so I encourage them. I'm very interested in taking it as far as it can go emotionally. And I always say to singers, I will never let you look like a fool. I never will let you go too far. But I really encourage them to get deeply into the moment, whatever that particular moment happens to be.
Stephanie, didn't you find, as a singer, losing yourself in the emotion of the character was a fantastic feeling? It was part of the great experience of opera.
Absolutely. One of the things I miss about singing when I stopped is that it's such a visceral experience. It's so visceral to immerse yourself into the emotions and to get feedback from your colleagues and see them do the same thing as we're going through the text, as we're going through the opera.
And the power of the opera voice, how committed that is physically, then to marry that with an emotional commitment. It's what makes opera great.
Yes.
You know what I'm going to ask you. Every director has to deal with Act Two. So, Act Two, La Bohème, we're outdoors in a piazza. It's Christmas Eve and the crowds are there. How do you deal with that so that the audience understands what's going on, gets the excitement, but can follow it all?
Yes, it's important that everyone has something specific to do rather than just saying to them, walk around or talk to each other or buy something. I have pages of very specific notes for everyone on the stage, telling them exactly what they need to do at a particular time. And I give them certain musical cues. You have to accomplish that by this time, or you need to keep it going through several more pages. It just depends on what that is. It's the most trying opportunity for me to direct something doing Act Two of La Bohème. It's really a challenge.
As a stage director, you get to, work on the set design, you get to discuss with the prop people, you work with the costume designer, the wigs and makeup, and ultimately the lighting designer, and then the singers. So is there a part of this process that you particularly enjoy, the one that really excites you more than any other, or is it the whole thing?
Well, it is the whole thing, but once again, Puccini loves props. He loves lots and lots of things that people can hold and sit on and move and read and whatever it is. And so that's a fascinating journey that I will be doing with our prop designer. I've already sent her my prop list. It's extremely long. And all of it is very specific to every single thing that happens in every single scene. And she works so beautifully in all of that that we're going to have a good time.
What would you say to someone who's never seen an opera? Should they be intimidated to see La Bohème?
No, not at all. One of the wonderful things about Bohème is that it's 4 short acts with 3 intermissions. So you don't have to picture yourself sitting for 2 or 3 hours without a break. And the story and the music and the emotion are so compelling that I can't imagine anyone walking away and saying, "Oh, well, okay, I saw an opera."
What would you want your audience to take away from this production?
People can take away these characters in their hearts because Puccini has done a beautiful job of introducing the characters to us, to the audience. And it's important to me that everyone is consistent with that as they work through their rehearsals and understand that there's a consistency. We need to know the arc of the character. We need to know exactly what the emotional ride is for each one of them. And that's really important to me as a director to make sure that we keep that. And this is an opportunity for the audience to get to know 6 very interesting people and see what happens with their love affairs or not.
Some people describe Puccini's score as almost a movie score. What do you think they mean by that?
The emotion is so palpable that we're drawn into the situation immediately in every single scene. He does a beautiful job of that. And he also tends to use a theme that he might have used early in the opera a little bit later for some of the characters. And even if someone who's never seen the opera doesn't recognize that, it still impacts that person emotionally. He's brilliant.
Did you want to talk about maybe a favorite moment that you loved when you sang Musetta?
And of course, singing Quando me voto, her waltz in Act Two. I loved doing that and having so much fun with our colleagues.
So joining me now is our Mimi. Now, Ashley is someone who has dazzled our audiences with her Lucia and Lucia de l'Amour, which has a huge mad scene that is quite an extended, incredibly challenging scene. And she was riveting in that. And last year, I loved collaborating with her on Pagliacci and Cavalleria Rusticana, and loved how she wants to get into the detail of the character. So I can't wait to see her Mimi. So welcome, Ashley.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So, Mimi, why this role? What is it about this role that sopranos for decades have loved and wanted to sink their teeth into this character?
It's an iconic role, obviously, because of all the people who have sung it, right? All of the greats before us have sung this role. But I feel like the role itself is very interesting because Mimi doesn't, at least strike me, as she's not an in your face, starry type of character, but it's more of a subtle, sweet way that you are drawn into her. And that's kind of why we fall in love with her, because once we actually start listening to what she has to say and learning more about her, she's very poetic on her view of life.
So, what was your first experience with La Boheme? Is that something you saw when you were younger, or?
For me, it's like a holiday opera, in my opinion, and very warm and cozy and comforting, even though weirdly the story is sad and beautiful at the same time. But there's something about the composition of it. There's not one thing that shouldn't be in there. And so I think it's the perfect opera, honestly. I think it's my favorite for partially that reason.
Well, and anyone can relate to these characters. We all, it's been a few years for me, but young and in love, we can relate to that. Someone once said to me, "Oh, it's ridiculous. No one falls in love that quickly because Mimi and Rodolfo fall in love in La Boheme in Act One." And my mom and dad met on a blind date. And my mother said halfway through that date, she knew that this was the man she would marry and spend her life with. And they did through 9 kids and years of marriage. So, yeah, so I'm someone who truly believes you can fall in love that quickly.
Absolutely. And not to be morbid at all, but what I love about opera in general, and it's done so well in La Boheme, is like you were saying, we meet characters who fall in love. So it touches on that life experience of maybe for people who are watching, referencing the first time they fell in love or those feelings that they felt when they first met someone they really had a connection with. But we also are stirring feelings that everyone at some point in their life have to go through, which is either losing someone they love or someone else they love losing them. And that is a really real experience, human experience that I feel like opera touches on a lot. And a lot of times, whether you're grieving or missing people or whatever, just being in the show, feeling the feelings that the characters are feeling in that moment helps you reflect and grieve or understand your feelings even better.
So now you've been talking about this. So the fact that Mimi starts out healthier. I mean, when we learn she's already fighting some kind of illness, but over the course of the opera, we learn that she is suffering with tuberculosis and she ultimately dies at the end. So, as a singing actress, how do you do that? How do you portray that increasing physical frailty and yet need to still project your voice over an orchestra without microphone out into the house? How do you find that balance?
Honestly, in order to portray someone who is pretty vulnerable and weak and suffering of an illness on stage, I personally find that the singer themselves have to feel particularly in good form, because below all of the portrayal of weakness and everything, there's a lot of strength in the way you move your body. There's a lot of nuance. I will say that most productions, the Mimi is either like half laying down or in some kind of propped up laying position, which is particularly difficult just because, I think optimal singing position is probably standing. So it does take a different kind of support and engagement with your body while also looking like you're so weak and laying down and relaxed at the same time. And there's some very climactic moments, especially in that death scene where there's a lot of high notes and really big singing, I would say, while you're laying down.
What parts of Mimi really call to your soul?
For my whole life, ever since I was very young, it's always been so hard for me to describe what I'm actually feeling, but I could maybe sing about it. I just love how she has a lot of feelings and she lets them out and she sings them, and Puccini sets them perfectly. Nothing is too overdone in this type of style of music. That's why I really love Verismo music in general, is that it's, if someone's feeling something, you know it, and you don't even have to know what words they're saying. You can hear it, what they're going through.
My first experience of Bohème was Diane Soviero and Neil Shikoff, and this was in Ottawa. And I was a young student, going to all these rehearsals. And, so I was in the room. There were no super titles. I didn't have a score, but I just was weeping with the power of their emotion, the beauty of the music, the believability of these two people being in love. Do you think this is an opera that could appeal to anyone? Should people be intimidated about coming to La Bohème?
I think that it is perfect for first-time goers. It's the perfect bite of opera to experience it for what it is, which is this gorgeous display of emotions through music and text. And I also, and I'm speaking from experience, even though I've been in it and I've seen it a million times, every time there's a show happening of it, I'm like, you know what? It's like watching your favorite movie or reading your favorite book again. Once you start it, you're like, oh, I know I'm going to go on a really good journey. It's going to be gorgeous. I'm going to feel feelings. Hopefully I'll cry, which is actually really great for us all. It's a little bit of everything. And there's like comic moments too, which I love as well. That's why it really is the perfect opera, honestly. It really is.
We really believe these characters. We understand their motives. We understand why they're doing what they do. We empathize with their life choices.
I think that it's, like you're saying, easy for people in the audience to relate with these people, the way that they're being portrayed, but also for singers and artists who are actually portraying these characters who happen to be singers and artists. That is also really, really fun to be able to portray yourself in a sense. So for the pandemic, I was in Torino in Italy. I was actually scheduled to sing my first Mimi at Teatro Regio Torino, but it got canceled because of COVID. It was very strict for Italy. Everything was closed down. There was like police patrolling. You weren't allowed to leave your house only once a week for the groceries, one person per household. I had my own apartment. I had some friends. I was dating someone at the time. We were all kind of spread throughout the city. And then the city had announced, okay, in the next 24 hours, move where you want to go because you're going to stay there for at least 3 months. One of our friends had the biggest apartment, and we had an actor, a writer, an opera singer, a filmmaker, and we stayed together for 3 months. In this apartment, we had no money. It was literally Bohème. It was literally Bohème. People were sick with COVID, coughing and stuff. Like, I'm not kidding. We were crammed. It was very uncomfortable, but it was the best time ever. So I just thought that was really cool. I have some like real life Bohème in the city that Bohème was debuted.
What a great story. So, Bohème, we must believe that you and Rodolfo fall in love. We must believe that, you're going through your struggles in Act 3 and, are completely in sync with each other in Act 4 as you die. So that's an intense relationship to develop. How do you develop that with your co-workers? I mean, we also have to believe your relationship with all the other people on stage. Is that something you enjoy developing? Is that something that you have tricks for, or for you, does it come out of the text?
Well, I would say for sure the text is a huge leader in that process. It's also very interesting that you said that because I will be meeting the Rodolfo for the first time ever on the first day of rehearsal, and we have to fall in love immediately. So that is something that's a challenge, I think, for a lot of opera singers. How can I help make sure that there is some sort of read of chemistry? The truth is that in the past, when I've had a scene partner that we don't really see eye to eye on something, or you kind of have to make up for the half that is missing. I'm very excited that my good friend Virginia Mims is going to be my Musetta. We became friends when she was my cover as Lucia, and we became very good friends immediately. Of course, we were bonding through the fact that we were learning this role together. And we've kept that relationship going, and we were together last year as well. And so we're so excited to be able to sing in a show. For me, getting to sing with people that I already know, my friends who are good friends especially, is the greatest gift and treat.
Well, and you're someone, this profession dictates that you travel lots of different places and sing with lots of different people. There's a transient aspect to this life. Is that something that you deal with well, that appeals to you, or?
I really love the lifestyle of getting to go to different places and get to experience all these cultures for just even like a little brief moment in time, getting to meet all of these people. And when you're in a show, you get really close really fast because you're essentially all ripping your hearts out in rehearsal in front of each other, whether you cry, laugh, you sing poorly that day, you sing the best you've ever sung in your life that day, you're sharing that experience with the people in the room with you. So that makes you bond really, really, really quickly. It's a very vulnerable experience, so you get close very quick. However, then you leave after a month or something. You're like, I don't know, when's the next time we're going to see each other, which is really difficult, I will say. But at the same time, most of my friends, my close friends, are also opera singers. So they understand the same struggle, and we're meeting each other in the same exact place as where we left off, because that's the type of relationships that we kind of have to have in this lifestyle. So then when the stars align and you get to sing with your friend on stage, that's like,
The first show that I was in, when we were all saying goodbye, I mean, back when I was a munchkin, right? I just thought my life was ending. That show was over. Well, and as you say, because there's this intense sharing of emotion and vulnerability, you go out there in that room on the stage and you're pouring out your heart. So these people have your back, you have theirs. There's a bonding, a trust that develops. So then to just wait a minute, walk away from that. How do I?
because you're with these people in the same room for at least 6 hours a day, every single day. So it's very intense very quickly. And then suddenly one day nothing. It's like cold turkey. Thank you to technology, honestly, that we can keep in touch.
Social media, thank you so much. I cannot wait to see your Mimi. I can't wait to hear your Mimi, because you are someone who just knows how to deliver a verismo line. So to all of our audience out there, you do not want to miss La Bohème. It opens on February 14th, Valentine's Day. It's a perfect date opera. It's a perfect opera to bring your family, your mother. So it's for 12 performances. There's lots of opportunity to see it. I want to thank my guests today, Stephanie Sundine, director, and Ashley Milanese, soprano. And I hope you'll join us for our next podcast episode, which is The Merry Widow, Money, Mischief, and Matchmaking. See you then.